And we are live. How to create any funnel and or website. Actually, it's recreate in high level. My name is Pamela Dale. I've been building funnels and using high level funnels for years and been an expert in high level for over 4 years. And I am really excited to be here today. The reason is we want to migrate over. We want to come from where we were over, and ClickFunnels 1.0 and soon to be ClickFunnels 2.0, we're going to be able to pull those funnels in without having to quote unquote rebuild them. But everything from Squarespace to Webflow to Wix, etc., we do need to rebuild those in the system. And I think it's easier than it looks. And I think it's a really great opportunity to clean things up again, but it does take some work and it can feel overwhelming. And I've done this over and over and over and over again, and I wanted to show you how I do it. So I think coming out of the gate here, we're going to do a 3-part series. The first is let's get ready to build and start wireframing it out, depending on how long it takes me today. I haven't done this live in a long time. And then part 2 will be let's clean it up. So you'll see what I mean by that once we get through on part 2 or episode 2 or whatever we're going to call this. And then number 3, we'll go in and we'll start taking a look at the back end, aka some of the automations and things like that that we can do to make it work really, really well. So I'm going to recreate a site that I found just in my scrolls, and I believe it's Webflow is what it is created on. And let me share my screen with you and let me show you what I mean by Webflow. So here's my screen, and we're going to jump here to this one, and this is Webflow here. And there are a number of different pages here. There's a home page, features, integrations, pricing, how it works, about, blog. It's quite a big site, and I got looky-looing around, and I thought, you know what, this is a very beautifully designed site, and I have some screen shots of it as well. This is the homepage that we're going to start with, and I'll show you this a little bit more in a couple of minutes. But I thought, you know what, this is a really great everyday kind of site that I think could be built really, really easily and really quickly inside of high level once you know how. There's a different way to build in every builder, right? So we want to make sure that we understand. So the first thing is when you go to build a website, you would have, if you're like mine, I think over the years, it's been about 3 years or so, building on the same sort of site. And I've got images and copy and testimonials and all of these things from kind of all over the place, and I may or may not have them gathered. So let me pull up my little, what do we want to call it? I guess it's a checklist, and I'll certainly get this over to you if you would like to have it at the end or in the middle or at any time. So the purpose of this is to show you how to bring things over from another place, because you want to get as much inside of high level as possible for statistics, for data, for speed, for efficiency, etc. And I want to show you the most efficient and effective way to do that, because it's going to make it easier and quicker. I've been live with people and they are trying to build something, and the first thing that we tackle is, where's your logo? And if you're anything like me, and you, especially on a Windows device, I find it very challenging, you will see download and it ends up in some bloody folder that you can't go back and find. So what I do is I build a folder on my desktop, so it's not in some downloads of wherever it's hidden in the tree of my, hard drive. So I put a folder on my desktop that says whatever website it is that I'm building. So in this instance, I've got one that says live funnel build. And then what I do is I make sure that I go to the website that's currently there, and I look for and eliminate, or depending on how you want to look at this, right? Eliminate what you don't want, or just gather the things that you do really want and need. So there are going to be a number of things when you take a look at it right off the top, right? You're going to need the logo, And you're going to need your colors, you're going to need your fonts, you're going to need all the images, and you're going to need the copy, right? So what I would do is I would start with a Google Doc, whatever doc system you like. Maybe it's Apple Notes or iNotes or whatever it's called, Pages, and go ahead and start really itemizing everything from top to bottom that you want to put in the site. So I would start with the headline, and then I would go ahead and start gathering all of that information. So that's really, really important for you to know and to do right out of the gate. So you get a really great opportunity to rebuild it and redesign it if you want to as well. What we're going to do in our funnel build is I'm going to follow that template and then show you how I put images and copy and everything inside of it and get started. So the first thing that, and this is in probably no particular order, so I don't know why I'm saying the first thing, but you want to make sure that you know what your color codes are. When I say color codes, I mean your hex codes. It's going to be the pound sign, and then there'll be a alphanumeric 6-digit code that you need for your colors. So let me share my screen here really quickly. And here's my little note that I started to walk through this with you. You want to be sure that you have your colors. So in the design that I have, there are very few colors. So I'm going to start with these 2 colors, but you want to make sure that you have your colors. So then you want to know which one is your font color. So this one is going to be my font color, right? And then I'm going to want a background color. And I'm going to want at minimum a CTA color or a call to action color, right? I'm going to want something that's a little bit brighter, that is very clear for all of the buttons, etc. So I will choose a color, and I'll show you how I do that as well, so that you can see some of the combinations and things that I'll do when I go to brand things. Maybe that's valuable for you as well. You're going to need some background patterns. The design that we are going to do today doesn't have background patterns for the sake of simplicity, etc. We'll put color in as first, and then we'll go from there. But there are some patterns that you may want to use. Now you can find those all over the place if you're unable to get yours out of your builder, which can also happen. So that's why it's really important that you take all the time to gather everything that you need and put it all in one place, okay? So then you need those colors, and then the next thing was the patterns, etc. But let me bounce back up here quickly. This is fonts. Google Fonts are what is used inside of the system. Inside of High Level, it's Google Fonts. And you may have an Adobe font. You may have a different font altogether. Maybe you know the name of it and maybe you don't, or maybe it's not available inside of High Level because we can only use Google Fonts or custom fonts. And there is a video on my YouTube channel that talks about how to do custom fonts. If you want that, please go and search that. It's one of my most popular ones. The first thing you want to do is you want to Google what Google font is common to the font that you're looking for, and then come in and take a look and find it. You may or may not want to download it because you might want to put it in your Photoshop. You might want to put it in your font book on your Apple so that it'll pull into your editor that you use. Or maybe you want to use a Canva font and you want to find something that's similar to that as well. But you want to make sure that you have the font, because when we go into build, that's one of the first things we're going to do is set the typography. We're going to set the colors. So we need the font color and we need the font for sure to get started, right? Because we're going to start dropping in some elements. So that's really important to have right out of the gate as well. And then best case scenario on any funnel build, what I do is I make sure that when I have a logo developed, I've got a dark and a light logo. I've got it in a square, rectangle, and a round, which is kind of a square, but maybe I need a round as well. And I also need a favicon and an icon. And a favicon and an icon are usually round, watermarks, things like that. So make sure you have those when you're building, because you never know when you go to rebuild. Maybe you have a dark one up top and you've got a light one in the bottom because your footer is a darker color, right? You want those two minimum to get you started. And then usually it's a rectangle in a menu and it's a square in the bottom. It depends how we're going to put this together. And then you might want just the icon. So if you don't have an icon for your logo, you might want to think about getting one. Or when you go to build a new offer and you get a logo created, ask for it to have a bit of a logo. So, or an icon, pardon me. So mine is my PD. I use it as the icon, and then my name is across the side of it. And then the same with the PD, and then my name underneath it. So I do have those pieces to mine. I've learned that through all the years of funnel building. It makes it easier. So then the next thing you're going to want to do is take a look at images and icons. So when we take a look at icons, when we take a look at images, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a different screen with you, and we're going to jump over here. I'm going to change cameras for us. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at what we're going to build. So this is our home page here. Very simple. I chose it with not a lot of colors just for the ease of build. That's going to make it a little bit quicker and faster for us. Yours might take a little bit more time, but this is our first page. And when we talk about images, you can see right away that I've got a square image up top. I've got some logos in here. I've got two 16:9 or landscape sized images here. I've got another bigger landscape. I've got 3 more landscape. I've got another square, and then this is a video. And then you can see a little icon down here at the bottom, right? That's really powerful. That's what I was talking about. And then right up the top, you might get dizzy by me going back and forth. Here's a smaller logo that is rectangle. If I put a square image in here, it's going to make this bigger, or it's going to make the logo too small. So if you want to recreate this might even be a little bit of a design class for you too. So God forbid that I'm not a designer. So there's the disclaimer there. But I did learn a little bit in all of my funnel building, specifically around how to funnel hack. That's really the world I came from. So I learned a lot of this by simply just copying different things and trying to recreate them. And that's actually how I got better and better at funnel building, was doing this a lot. So you can see the elements that I'm going to need as well when you go through this together. And you take a look at your old one and you're like, okay, what do I need? You can see some icons here. I know inside of High Level that these are little icons that we've got these already in the system, but these we don't have. And this, if I want to totally recreate this, and this is inside of the web flow. Some web builders give you different things than High Level will give you. One of the things we need to do is find these and recreate these as well if I want to really make this the exact same way that I found it. And then another image. Pretty simple. There's not a lot that's really fancy on this one, other than when we get down here to the bottom, we've got this here, and then we've got some icons, but I know that I can get these inside of High Level as well. So it's partly knowing what High Level will do, and when we get into funnel building, you'll be able to see that. And then if you'd like, this is the About page, because as I mentioned, this funnel's got a lot of pages. We can continue to keep building if you want to watch. I'm not sure that would be helpful for you, but if you love it, I love building them, so come along. There's an team piece here that I thought was powerful with these little icons as well to show you how to do something like this. And then there was an FAQ piece down here that I thought we could recreate as well. And if you want more than that, we're going to just keep going. There's a blog. I can show you how to do all of this. Oh, so fun. So today what we're going to do is we're going to do the About page. And I'm going to make sure first that I have everything that I need. So I have my logo, and let me come back to the other camera. So I've got my logo, right? I've got my logos, and then I've got, if I don't and I make a mistake, what I'm going to do is show you how I actually go and resize it and recreate it and change the color as well, just in case you don't have that, and I can show you how I actually do it. And again, comment, like, give me all of the, you love it, you hate it, it's terrible, that's boring, give me it all, because I will just keep talking. And then one of the other things that may be valuable for you to get started, let me share this. I actually really love these. This is from my funnel hacking days, and they're my favorite Chrome extensions for funnel hacking. The first one is the ruler. I'll show you these on my other screen as well. So the ruler helps me, because one of the first things I ever tried to figure out was, what is the size of my goddamn computer screen? Like, I didn't even know what size my computer screen was. If I wanted to put a background in and I know it's covering the whole computer screen, I didn't even know what that was, and I didn't know it was 16:9. Like, I had no idea. Like, really, you can come a long way like I have. So there's a Chrome extension that's a ruler that actually you'll be able to measure that image on your computer. Oh, I know. So that square one, you're going to go, how big is that? I'll never forget the first time I learned that, when somebody gave me an image once, and I was like, why does that look so crappy? But she'd given me this tiny little image that the computer was trying to stretch out, and it was pixelated. And the opposite can happen if somebody gives you too big of a one. The system will scrunch it to try to get it into a smaller one, and it'll look crappy. So we want to come in with the best size possible, because we're talking all the time as well as we're building this about page load speed. We want things to load quickly. So if they don't, let me tell you what happens if they don't. Google won't load your site. Google won't send traffic, right? The links between Instagram and your site, if it's too long, like a nanosecond, people click off, right? So we want this to load really, really well. So I'll show you how we test all of that. So the ruler will help us determine the size of these images so we don't get them too small or too big. The other one is fonts. If you don't know what your font is, you like a new font, maybe it's time for a change, right? So this is called What Font, and you go to any website and scroll over the font, and it'll tell you what fonts are being used that you can then go and find. Colors, if you don't have your color codes, say for example, you don't have your hex codes, Colorzilla it's a little eyedropper that you will on a little pixel, and it'll tell you the color. So we're going to go through all of these. Screenshot is what I use to screenshot the whole page. It's going to take a full screenshot of the whole page, because we know how funnels are really, really, really long, right? And then what you saw me do on the other screen is I blew it up so I could see it, and I can take it piece by piece. And it's not 6 pages and I'm just screenshot. It'll just take the whole thing, and then I can put it together for you. It's easier to use. And then I got a couple of CSS tools if we need them, because I am not a coder, but I'm a hacker. So we learned how to hack code and figure it out and play with it in case we need a little bit. I tried to pick a site that was very easily laid out without too much of, and I'll show you when we get inside, but sometimes we have to manipulate it a little bit. But this one looks fairly square, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not got a lot of fancy, so that'll really be beneficial for us as well. So let me jump back over here, and let me show you on my website, pull it up. And let's use these Chrome extensions. So we'll start in order. We've got the eyedropper here, pick color from page, and you can see when I scroll over, it even can find that blue, right? Or this color here, in case I've forgotten what it is. And the moment I click on it, that color is copied to the clipboard. So I can come back over here and I can see this color. Now, the color picker panel pulled that in for me. But what I want you to know is this is not actually my color code. It's actually 248,188. Do you see how close it is? It is so close, right? They look identical here, but know that you're not going to get the exact color if that's what you're looking for, but it's at least a place to start, right? And of course, there are millions and millions and millions of color codes, so it makes sense that they would be close, right? So that's where you're going to be able, if I just cancel this and I come back here, oops, and I come back here, I'll be able to click on this one here and grab it again in case I ever lose it. So I can grab my color codes from here. And then what I do is let me pull my notepad over. Right out of the top here, you can see call to action, call to benefit. I've always wanted to use that somewhere in some training, so that still sits there. And then here's my button color, a background color, my borders, not used a lot, headlines, font color, and then sometimes the background field in a form, I make that just a little bit different. So I've started to save a number of different colors, and I use my notepad all the time. So that can be very beneficial for you. So that's the first thing. The next thing is what font. So you can see here that I've activated it. It's exit one font. I can do that the moment I click on it. It'll stop my little thing from doing this. So my fonts are Montserrat, right? You can see everything's going along. If it flips out like this, let's just get rid of that. It says it's inactive. Times that, like, there's no font there, right? So you have to kind of really scroll over top. Now this is called Charlotte font, but it's actually like Charlotte Southern SC or something like that. So it might be harder to find this one, but you could certainly start to Google it. And then we can see, oh, that says Roboto, but I don't think it should be Montserrat. If it's not, we're gonna go check it. You know what I'm saying? So in the forms, sometimes it can be set to Roboto. So maybe I have some form settings off, but you can start to see what's going on there, right? And then I just hit exit what font. I can pick up all my fonts, again, put them on my notepad, and we're laughing. Now, here's my ruler. This is a page ruler, and I don't know if you can see really lightly, there are little grid lines in here, like the old graph paper that we used to get in high school, right? You can see the grid lines. So that's what's starting to happen. And I will be able to, with my little crosshairs here, drag down over this image. And if I let go, that still stays there. So I can still move my cursor around, right? And I know that it's 626 by 483 wide. So it's 483 pixels wide by 626 pixels high. Now, these are your X's and Y's, and this is your X and Y, which is where is it on the page? Don't worry about that at the moment. We'll get fancy with that maybe one day, but for now, just note that this image is this size. Okay, so when I go to get ready, and on my Google Doc, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say, top section, profile picture of Pamela, I need 626 by 483. Now, could I make it 600 by 500? Sure, right? We'll figure it out. But we do know when we go to recreate this site, that's what we would do. And maybe I should have recreated my own site, but you know, I know this one's absolutely square. And if I scroll over this one, you can see it's about 1200 pixels. Did you see that when I did that? When I went, and I'm not in the ruler, I'm in the screenshot, and it's giving me this as well. So I know that that's about a 1200 pixel image. I do know as well that computer screens are usually, is it 1920 by 1080 above the fold is kind of a number that I go with if I wanted a background image in here. So that's just like a side note there. So these are our Chrome extensions. And then this next one is the Go Full Page. If I click on this one, it just automatically captures the whole page. You can see that it's chugging along because this is probably like 3 pages long. And it gives it to me all in one page. So that's really powerful to have if you want to take a screenshot and run off a screenshot. That's how I do that. And then these last two here are the CSS editors that I'll show you later. So that's a really good run at this to get started. And then what we'll do is, let me just take a look back at my notes, and if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, and then what we can do is we can just start building. This is not going to be perfect because I'm assuming that yours isn't going to be perfect either. You're going to find things that you don't know what to do with later, etc., right? So the first thing we want to do is we want to go into high level. A note that in my experience, there's usually a website already here that's live, right? She's already running, so you don't want to pull the domain until the very last minute. So usually, when you watch me build funnels live, you'll see me pull the domain in first, and the reason is because I usually buy a new domain for every offer, and I make sure that that is perfect before I even, as I lay out the funnel before I even start building. Here we're going to do it a little bit backwards, okay? So just if you ever see me do that again, you'll know what the heck why I did it differently. So let's jump over here and let's get started. So holler at me if you need anything. I don't know. I'll be able to see the comments. They're way over there. All right. So we know For this build, we're going to do the 2 pages, okay? Usually on a website or a funnel, there may be more, but for now, we're going to do 2. And I'm going to choose to build this in the website side. It doesn't really matter anymore if I put them in funnel or website inside of high level, other than if I want e-commerce. If I want e-commerce, I'm going to put this in website because that's where the store, quote unquote, piece attaches to, okay? But I'm gonna build this in website just for shits and giggles because maybe I'll build the whole goddamn thing out, right? You never know. So we've got this as our reference, right? And let's get rid of this. And let's get rid of this, and let's jump over into high level. I've got a sub account that's brand new. It's got nothing in it. It's live funnel builds is what I've called it. And we're going to come here under, whoops, pardon me, under sites. It's hot here, so my trackpad gets sticky. And then we've got websites, and I'm going to create a new website. I'm going to start from blank, but the templates are lovely. So normally, I'm going to put the business name or the company name. My naming conventions, you're going to watch me do this all the time, these square brackets. This gives me usually the acronym of what it is that I'm building. You'll notice in mine, it's PJD website. And then I've got a Pamela Loves website, which is an affiliate site. Those are the 2 websites I have. And then all the automations and everything run off PJD if it's at that level, right? So I can keep everything clean and easy, and I know what's connected to what. So I'm going to go with business name website for now, and we're going to go create. I hope this is helpful for you. I love doing this. It's one of my favorite things in the world to do. And immediately we've got it created, but we haven't got anything here. So the first thing I'm going to do is create the pages. So this is going to be, and again, I'm going to use business name, and there's a reason for this. When you go to pull in this for automations, if it doesn't have the actual right recognizable, perhaps, name, what's going to happen is you're going to come in here and you're going to go, oh my God, I don't know the name. You're going to be in automations, right? You're going to like, I don't remember the name. You're going to have to come out and go over and come back, and it's just a pain in the bum. So I'm going to go business name, and then, whoops, and you're going to watch me spell. It's going to be fun. And this is going to be our homepage. So you get to choose, and the path I'm going to choose as home. Now, when we do the domains, I'm going to show you about all of the domain options, but I like home. This can be changed, so no problem there. If I don't add home, the system will add something. So again, changeable, no problem. So I know I've got a business homepage, and I'm going to create it from blank, but I'm going to add my next page. So I know that I'm also going to have a business name, and I'm going to have an about page as well. So I've used the word page on each one. I like to keep it that way. And then for the path, I'll just go about. And with websites, they lay out like this, just like you would imagine a website would do. It's flat, it's pages, right? So they're laid out like this. A funnel is actually top to bottom stacked like this, like an actual funnel. So in the websites, this is what you're going to see. And then we're going to create from blank, okay? So we've got the home page and the about page. When we build a funnel live, I'll show you how to do that. It looks just a little bit different. Fantastic. First thing, absolutely blank, right? Where do we start? How do we do this? Well, when we come to this page here, I want you to start to think like the funnel / website builder thinks. There are 4 pieces to every funnel / website inside of high level when it comes to building it in the editor. We've got sections, which are the big pieces. Then inside of sections, we have rows. And then inside of rows, we have columns. And inside of columns, we have elements. So I have to think that way every time I build. And when do you choose a new section? The way that I choose a new section is usually where I want it to break. How do I know where I want it to break? I want it to break where the background is going to change, usually. Usually. Every once in a while, if it's all white, I might not break out the sections. But here's another tip for you. if your sections are so big and it's one section all the way, right, which if you don't want to change backgrounds, you can do that. When you go to become an expert funnel builder, so to speak, sometimes you want buttons to jump to and scroll, and you want to be able to save sections to use in the next page, and the next page, and the next page. If you don't break them out in sections, you can't. So I like them because they're easier and cleaner, and they're easier for my brain to close it off. Oh, that one's done, that one's done, that one's done. I can move on instead of it just being one long one. So it just makes it easier for me and my anxiety, right? So if I'm looking at this page, and again, everything is changeable. I didn't even practice this. So please know I'm just jumping in and we're just going with this. Exactly how I would do it if it was just me, doing it for myself. And I've got a little history, so it makes it a little bit easier. The other thing is please remember that everything can be deleted, everything can be redone. You can delete that homepage and start again. There's nothing that's here permanently, absolutely nothing. You can't break it. So you'll watch me do this and break it. So that'll be fun to watch. So with all of that being said, I look at this first page in sections. What are my sections? And we're going to wireframe this out today in sections and columns and rows and maybe elements, depending on how much more I want to talk on this, right, today, and how much more you want to listen. Let me know if this is fun or not, because I can go all fucking day. We're going to break it out in sections first, and it's going to be messy. And I want you to be okay with messy. The moment that you stop when we do this first section and it doesn't look like this and you get stuck here, you'll be here forever. It's easier to do everything at once, and I hope I'll remember to tell you why, but it's in the padding and the margins. Let's just tell you now, if you put them at 0, because you're going to need the top one at 0, you're not going to be able to get a hold of it in the sense of to edit it if you need to later, and it's just going to cause you more pain. So it's going to frustrate you. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to break it by sections, and I'm going to count them for you. And I'm going to tell you what my thinking is around them. When you look at just this piece here, do you see the sections like I see them? Maybe, maybe not, and absolutely no right or wrong answer. And if you don't, that's fine. This here is the screenshot part. So our website starts right here, right? So this is my first section. Different background color, right? I know this one's going to be another section, and this is based on design because there's a border at the bottom. I'm going to want the border at the bottom of the section because the rows don't go full width. The rows are going to come in here if I want them to, or in here, depending. I can get a row to go full width, but we don't want that for this because we don't want this full width. We don't want these buttons way over on touching the side. So I know just based on design and being in here for a while that I need that on the bottom of a section. So I'm going to another section. And it's always best to put your menu in a section. Make sense? The next section is going to be this one. I'm going to go all the way down to here. Now, why? Even though this is the same color, right? Remember I had said if the section background color changes, that's your automatic. Well, the reason is that I know this is going to be a 2-column row. This is a row with 2 columns in it, right? So this is the row, and this is column 1 and column 2, but this is 1 column. So I can do that, no problem. I can pop another row in the same section, and again, I'll show you this. I'll stop after this, and we'll start building. And then I know this is another 1 column row, but I may very well put these together and then start in here with another one, but I'm not 100% sure. We're gonna see. Your spacing and your margins and your padding and things like that matter. You're gonna watch me white space this quite a bit. I may or may not do it at the beginning. Again, I haven't funnel built like this in a while, but you'll notice when you're out and about on the interwebs, you'll start to see what I'm talking about with white space. We want to leave as much white space as the eye needs to breathe between things, and you'll notice it now when there isn't any, aka not well-designed sites. Maybe it's yours, it certainly can be mine, right? Or you'll see the white spaces there, but our call to action is above the fold here, which is exactly what we wanted, right? So not too much white space that we can't get this above the fold. And the fold is the first, before the first scroll, before I have to start to scroll on my computer, right? So different computers, different sizes, and mobile is something else we're going to go through as well, okay? So let's get started. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to do 4 columns right out of the gate. How does that sound? Let's do it. So this looks like this. We will do SEO and other things that you'll see popping out here as we go. First thing is, this is add a section. It's going to automatically ask me for a section. So I'm going to go full width section. It's going to pop it in. It's going to give me my settings over here on the right-hand side, right? We're going to leave this for now. And I know that I just need a 1 column row in this one, right? So I'm going to go 1 column row. And the element that I want in here right away is going to be a headline or a subheadline. Now, inside of high level, we have to think about SEO. So let me show you something. What do I mean by SEO? Well, first with SEO, we need to understand H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, and H6. Those are heading hierarchy. H1, there's only ever one H1 on a page. Ever. And we're going to show you when you do the SEO. But when I pop in a headline here, and I click on this, right, and I want to edit it, it's an H1. Here's the problem with Go High Level SEO. People say it doesn't work, and it's because people are popping headlines all the way in, all the way down. This is how I used to build. I would just pop headline. Sometimes I'd do a subheadline just for shits and giggles, because I know I'm changing the color and the size and everything, and then what I've got is a whole whack of H1s. SEO, Google, AKA, doesn't know what it is that's this site is all about. So I want to be sure that I do not use H1. I can change it to an H3. It changes the size, right? We can come back and do SEO later. But I wanted to show you that so it's easier to build for me, all the way through, get it in. Then what I'm going to do is clean it all up and I'll SEO the thing later. That's kind of the way that I'll do it, in the sense that I'll come, because why would I come in, and you saw what happened when I changed that to H3, it changed the goddamn font size. It changed everything. So imagine if I take all my time and do this, and then what happens when I come to SEO, optimize it. Oh my God, it changed everything for me that I spent all my time on. Yes, you get it? Yeah, I see where your head's going, and I'm glad. I already know what you're thinking. You're thinking, thank God, Pamela, you're showing me this, right? So we're just gonna pop them all in head ones. Who cares? We're gonna figure it all out, right? So this is just to wireframe it out right at the start. And I could or could not maybe grab my copy. So medium length header bank with link goes here, right? So perfect. What I want next, you'll notice what's happening here when I scroll over. Sections are green, rows are blue, inside of rows are columns, and it turns purple. This is a 1 column row, and then orange are the elements. So if I click on this plus here, I can see all of the elements that I'm able to add into a website or a funnel, okay? So those are the building blocks, and everything is movable and changeable, and I can change my mind for this 2 column row. I'll just duplicate it out. It's gonna give me 2. Oh my God, I did 2 and I only need 1, like nobody's dying. Do you see what I'm saying? All right, so I know this one is a dark background, right? So what's my dark color? At the time of this recording, we do not have the the brand colors in, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab my color, and I'm really bad with memorizing font colors. I'm gonna add this color. I'm gonna have to click add the color, and then I'm gonna change my font color. I've got a lighter color, right? I'm going to change that, and it's in bold. This headline's always come in bold, so you'll have to change it here and here just in case you decide it's bold or not bold, just so you know that. And now I can't remember my other color code. Where did I put it? Oh, I put it on the notes. All right, at the top. So that's why it's so handy to have it, right? And I don't have to go look it all up. All right, so now I'm going to add another color. I'm going to pop this in. If you have the hashtag on twice, it won't work. So just make sure you have the hashtag on once. And I'm going to add that color, and that color came in perfect. And I might change it to the bold. Now you can see my two colors have stayed here. Now they may or may not continue to stay. Oh, what do we need to do next, Pamela? We always want to start to save. This is going to be your friend if you're on Wi-Fi. You could get kicked out. People think that it's high level. Sometimes it's just your Wi-Fi. The wind has just made it wane a minute and off you go. Oh my God. You don't want to have to go through that. You're going to cry. My SEO metadata is going to open on the left. We're going to leave it. I'm just going to X out of there. That thing's going to keep popping open. I could change it if I wanted to and then change it at the end, but we're going to SEO later. Okay? So I know that this one here, let's put it at a heading 3 for now, and then I can come in and make some changes to this. I think that's what I want to do for the SEO, is change it to the heading way that I want. And then what we're going to do next is we've got a menu section here, right? So we've got how many rows? Now, this is where you're going to need to know a little bit about high level and how it works. When you're in a menu, the menu gives you the opportunity to add the logo and these pieces, right, inside of that element. And then I need 2 buttons. So I'm going to guess at this and put a 3-column row in here. So I'm going to add a new section with a 3-column row. And again, we can muck about with it later, but let's do that. So to add, I'm going to scroll over until I find the plus sign of the pieces that I actually want, right? I know I want to add a section, and this is why I'm not going to muck about with this, because it does need to be quite a bit smaller, right? And I've got to remove padding and remove margins, and then this plus doesn't show up well. So I'm going to struggle with it, so I'm going to leave it for now. So I need a full width. Again, we're going to go full width, and I'm going to add a 3-column row. Can you see how it's starting to happen? Now it's not wide enough, but we'll get there. So I know that I want first a menu. Category navigation. Is that what I wanted? No, that's not what I wanted. So I'm going to click add, and I want the navigation bar. Here, navigation menu. That's what I want instead. So I'm going to get rid of that nobody cried, nobody died. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a button, because remember there was 2 buttons. So there's a light and a dark button. So I'm going to add 2 buttons. Oh, see, that's why you sometimes want to just keep saving, because you might trip around like I did. And we want to drag in a button. Here's our button. We're going to drag in the first one. And what I sometimes do is change the button before I duplicate it, so that if I want a different font, etc. Oh, I didn't even do fonts and typography, so there you go. See? I forgot. And I'll duplicate this out, and I'll just drag it over. And now I've got my save. I've got my menu. Looks terrible, yeah? It's going to take everything, maybe may not, but it takes everything I got not to stop and muck with this, right? So typography, I forgot to mention, how do we change the typography? Well, we're going to come here to the T for typography, and we're going to set our fonts and our colors right away. So what is my font? So let's pick, I'm really liking Red Hat Display. I don't know, I just love it. So we're going to go with Red Hat Display for my headline, and my content font is going to be, is it Pontano? Pontano Sans. My link, or pardon me, my text color is going to be my brown, right? And my link color is usually that call to action color. So this might be a really great time to jump over into some colors. So do I still have that? Yes, I still have that color on my clipboard, and I'm going to add in a hashtag in the beginning, and I'm going to hit enter, because what it'll do is it'll bring up this site called Color Hexa. And again, this is just funnel building 101, like funnel hacking, pardon me. It tells me what the color is. It gives me some color information, and it also starts to give me different shades and monochromatic and some other colors that might go well with it. And I thought, well, this might be a really great way to go about grabbing a different color. So this one looks like it might work well as a call to action color or a link color. Again, I'm just gonna guess. So if I click on this, it opens this one up and I'm gonna grab this. Now, the reason you also want this is because it's also going to give you the RGB, which you're going to need every once in a while. So that's why I always add it in with a hashtag. And I'm like, oh, great, I can jump over and grab this RGB. If I just paste this in now in the browser, oh, that must be an Apple product. There you go. We'll go back and we'll go back and we'll go back. Usually I can see my RGB right here. It's very quick. You'll get to know those colors, but I might be going down a rabbit hole. Okay, I'm back up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to choose for my link color, I'm gonna add in that new color, right? And I'm gonna add that color as my link color. That's chosen here, perfect, X out of typography, and I'm now gonna save. So it would have been great to do that right out of the gate. I'm going to add this color now to my document. Make sure that I have that. And sometimes I'll even put the name of the color, like light green, dark teal, dark teal. You'll see that in, probably would have seen that in some of my colors. And then I know my button color for this one had a dark color. So in this design, that is our call to action color. So I'm going to change that one. And I know this one was white, right? So I can put my white color in, and then I can choose my font color as well and put the darker color. There, it's starting to come together. You can start to see what's happening, yeah? And then what you do is you drag these columns, but the first thing I wanna do with this row is I wanna make this, I'm gonna come into this section, allow rows to take the entire width. I'm gonna do that. And then we're gonna muddle with this later. Does that make sense? Because what can happen is I could drag these down so that they make sense. They're side by side, but this is getting fussy, right? We can start to see on this menu, I can upload my logo down at the bottom. I can upload the brand logo in here. So I'm gonna save this and I could continue here if I wanted. Does that make sense? Okay, awesome. The section height will size itself based on what's inside of it, right? So this is this size because this is what's inside, but our next one is quite big. So we want a 2-column row, and I know that just looking at it, I'm gonna want headline or subheadline, bullets, button. We're gonna have to do some finagling to get this to work, and then another bullet down here, and I'm gonna want an image on the right. Okay, so we're gonna stack this all in here. Does this make sense? Let's do it. I'm just gonna check the comments, just make sure there isn't any comments. How's everybody doing? All right, so people still watching. Thank you for watching, I appreciate your time. Let's go with another section. And as I mentioned, we're gonna go full width, and we're gonna add a 2-column row, and I'm gonna take a sip of water. The other thing that's really powerful to understand is this screen that we're working on is massive. We're not into cleaning things up at the moment. We're just gonna go with it. So I said I needed a headline. Remember, we want an H1. We're gonna change this to an H3 just for shits and giggles. I don't have to do it later. And then I'm gonna want a subheadline. I will pop that one in. And again, it's an H2. Let's put her as an H4 just for fun. And then what else did we see? We had some bullets. Element, and there is bullets in here somewhere, bullet list, right? You can see how it's all weird, that's fine. And then it was button. We're gonna add a button. We're gonna leave that for now. Actually, we could probably even left align this so we can start to see what we're doing, right? It's gonna take a lot to clean it up. It's kind of fun to just get her in, but we're gonna left align that for now. And then we know we want another button, so I'm gonna duplicate this one. I'm gonna right align this one. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna negative margin this one up so that it matches. So I'm gonna go negative, I don't know, 40 for now. And I have to tab it over, and you can start to see it start to come up. Yeah, I don't know the exact number. but that looks good. So she's a -60. I could do full width, right? I probably don't want to do that. This is going to take some work, but for now, we've got the bones, right? That's what we're going with. And I might change my mind all about that later and scrap it. And maybe we can't put that 100%. We'll figure it out. And then I need one more bullet. So I would have probably, in the ideal world, maybe taken care of all of that size-wise, etc., and then just duplicate it out. And then these little arrows, I can drop it underneath. And we're going to go one more. And that button went weird. I don't even know why that did that. So we're not going to do that. We're just going to add in another bullet list. Looks good. Looks terrible, but you start to feel what's happening. And then here's an element, and we want to add in an image. Okay, so let's start talking about images a little bit. So I've downloaded a whole bunch of stuff from Pexels, I believe, and I know on this here, let's take a look, pretend it was a website. Let's grab our ruler. Does the ruler work on an image? It might only work on a web page. Yeah, I think it's only going to work on a web page. So we'll pretend, and then we knew that this one was approximately 1200 by 1200, and you literally want it to be 1200 by 1200, okay? So then what we're going to do is use Photoshop. If you don't have Photoshop, I found a tool called Photopea. Photopea, you can see all its ads and everything. It's very similar to Photoshop. This is the funnel building world you're going to get into if you want to recreate sites for yourself or for your clients, right? What I did was just learn the bloody basics, and I'm going to show you what they are. So I'm going to open from computer, and you'll see here I've got a bunch of pixels, and then I got a video for that bottom of that web page. So I know that I need a square image. So if I'm correct, this one here, let's open this one up. It's not the right image, that's fine. What I want to do is I want to crop this to square, first of all, but I want to make sure that this image is actually 1200 pixels wide, right? So I'm going to go image, and I'm going to go image size, and it tells me it's 4672, which is what you're going to get from some of these sites. They're huge, and it's 7,000 pixels high. If you upload this, you're in trouble because there's 10 of them. This web gods are going to just holler at you, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to crop it, then I'm going to resize it, okay? So the tool here is crop, and it's going to go free, and I'm going to go square 1:1. I want square, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to be able to, and it does that every once in a while because this is a shitty site. I'm going to crop it again, and I should be able to move this around and get to choose which part of the image I want, right? So it was kind of okay where it was, or do I want the stairs? Let's get rid of that green. And then what I do is I click the check mark, square, perfect. But she's massive. If we come back and we look at image size again, we know it's 4672. I want 1200, so I'm going to go 1200. I'm just going to hit tab over, and it gives me my 12 by 12, and I'm going to go okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go File, Export As, and I want a WebP. WebP are going to be great for the interwebs. They load great, right? So this one, I'm going to call it image 1, and that's because it's the first image, or call it the header image, or call it your call to action, whatever it is, right? You get this. And then you also want to think about SEO here. So if this is your picture of you, put your name and your company name, because when you go to Google and you search your name, this is how they show up, right? So make sure it's SEO'd, and we're going to go save. So that is image 1 WebP. Now you could do this out front, grab all of your images and get them in. It may or may not be best for you depending on how you work, and maybe you just want to take this step by step. It's up to you. I tend to want to do it all at once, but here's what I found. I don't like doing things twice. Call it my waitressing days, right? I'm not going to walk by a table twice and not pick up that dish. So I just picked it up from there. Maybe I've always been that way. I I don't want to resize all those images, get in here and build it, and realize that that one doesn't fit or I don't like it, but I've spent all the time on that. Does that make sense? So I'm going to upload this one. I like the square. I like where this is going so far. So let's do her one image at a time. So I'm going to highlight this image. Anytime I want to edit something, a section, a row, a column, or an element, I need to click on it and be sure that the settings are appropriate for what I'm trying to edit. This says image. I know that I'm editing the image. Sometimes when you're clicking on these sections, you have to click a couple times. Just click a couple times, just go make sure you got the section, click on it, make sure you got the button, okay? And then you know what you're editing. So I'm on this image and I'm gonna scroll down and it's given me this placeholder. I'm gonna click on the image and I don't have anything in here, okay? Perfect, yeah, love it, all in one place, just takes a minute, migration and process. I'm gonna upload a new image. No, I'm not. I'm going to create a folder and we're gonna use the same business name, website, right? And inside of here, I'll put a folder for the logos and the favicon. I'll put a folder for this image. I'll put a folder for, you get where I'm going. Yeah, okay, perfect. Ooh, even the spelling's on point today. Fantastic. This is always gonna load these relocated items. In this instance, there isn't anything in here. You can delete that folder, which I would because it would drive me crazy, right? So I'm gonna delete that. All I did was just right click, delete. I could rename it if I wanted to, but if you pull in a funnel, if you bring one in from another high-level account, it's going to bring all those images under the relocated. So that's where you're going to find it. So I'm going to double click inside this folder. Now I'm going to upload that image and I'm going to upload file. And it was in my downloads, image number 1 WebP. There she is, double click, she's in, right? Well, it looks like crap, but you can start to see how she might be coming together, yeah? Beautiful. So we are going to be talking here about padding. On the right-hand side, I've clicked on this button. It's hard to tell. What you might want to do is rename it, button 2, right? And this one, button 2. So did you see what I did before I gave it that negative margin? So what happened? It's commandeering the other button. I can't get at that other button. That's why we don't do this at the beginning, because I can't get a hold of it, right? But I'll want to know right away, what is it that I'm editing? So I know that this is number 2. I've got this negative 60. I'm actually just going to take her back to 0 so that I can get into this one and I can call this one button 1 and I know what I'm doing. Okay, I'm going to hit save again. And we're going to play again with this padding. This is probably one of my favorite new inventions from high level is the padding and the margins. We used to always have to code this, but I'm going to be able to put padding and margin. Padding is the element, padding around the element. Margin is around the outside of that. So it'll make sense once we start to play with it. But if I just go 40, do you see how the padding was inside the element? But the margin, if I go to the margin on the right-hand side and I go 60, she pulled in. Do you see the difference? This one gave it inside the element, this one gave it outside the element. That's how they're going to sneak into each other. Do you see that start to happen? Yes, okay. So that all hope is not lost. We've got some options and we don't need CSS. Love it, love it, love it. All right, let's recap. 1 column row, 3 column row, 2 column row. Now we've got a 1 column row with a headline or some text, and we've got this is a website, or pardon me, a logo floaty bar. It scrolls across. We don't have this in high level yet. So how do I recreate this? I've got a tip. Pardon me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a 1 column row with a headline and the web scrolly. Okay, so let's do it. So I'm going to scroll down the bottom here. I'm going to do a full width and I'm going to scroll down. Once it pops in, it gives me a little bit more room to scroll, right? And then I'm going to add a row and I'm going to go 1 column row. And then I know that I want subheadline in here. And right away, you have to highlight it to get it to change to an H3. I'm going to hit save. And then I want the scrolly bar. So where do we get the scrolly bar? I don't know when High Level is going to come out with this, but I love that feature. So this is a site called Elf Site, and I added in a bunch of logos in that brown color. These are some of my logos, right? And you can see it's doing its thing. So if I want to publish this, what I need to do is grab the code for it. So let's close this. Logos Showcase, install. Now, if you want more information on this, let me know. Copy the code. So you can add, if you can't find some of these pieces, you're able to use outside pieces of software, etc., and you're going to use an HTML block. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back, and I'm going to add another element, and this is going to be a code element. So the code is HTML or JavaScript. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to notice that my panel here for settings open, and I'm going to open the code editor, and I'm going to drop the code that I just copied. I'm going to hit save. I'm going to hit save. Now I can't hit publish because I don't have a domain on here yet, right? We'll do that at the end because we're moving over. You could put a dummy domain on if you wanted, and we're going to preview this. So this looks horrendous. What do you think? But can you see how it's starting to come together? Here's our scrolly bar. Why isn't it going full width? Remember, we have to allow the rows to go full width inside of a section. So we're going to jump back here. We're going to click on this section. We're going to go allow rows to take the entire width. Now you can see my JavaScript element has moved full width because my row has gone full width. I'm going to save again. And you can either refresh this one by doing Command or Control R or hitting the little refresh, or just preview it, right? And just close them out. But that's not bad. Like, she doesn't look bad. We're going to be able to recreate this one, I think, really, really well. I'll show you what it looks like live once she's ready. All right, so then we keep going. There's quite a bit of white space here, yeah? Do you notice that? That's really cool. There's some white space here as well. We don't have as much, do we, here? So this is in your padding and margins. What I recommend you do is be consistent. If you're always using padding, use padding. If you're always using margin, use margin. But don't flip between them because you'll never be able to figure out why can't you get it even. Okay? Remember that the padding is around the element itself or the row itself, and margins are outside of that. So I tend to use a combination of both, but I've been at this a long time. So if I was going to change, well, let's use this one. This has got a background color on it, right? This will help illustrate that point. I'm going to click on this section and make sure that this is the one that the settings are open for. I can tell because that's the background color I've got there, right? I've got padding of 20 and 20. So we were immediately needing to get rid of this because we need this to be smaller. But remember, the moment I do this, it gets really hard to get a hold of. So I'm going to leave it at 10 for now. But did you notice what was happening with the padding? It stayed within that color. If I click on the margin and I go 10, see how it dropped outside of the color, above the color? Because it's outside. Margin is outside of it. It took me a while to figure this out. So when you go and want things to be even, this will drive you mad because you'll have to click 20% margin, click 20% margin, go back. 30 padding, go back, 30 because I can't remember 20, 30, 40, 60. I can't. I just write on 3 different elements at the same time. I just can't. So that's how that is going to happen. So I hope that illustrates that just a little bit better. So then we know that on this section, I love a margin of 60. I don't know. I'm just going to give her a 60. And then this on the bottom, I'm going to give it 60 as well. So I'll click down here, and then this opens and I get the 60. And then I can start to see a little bit of space. I don't know, it just helps me see the design start to lay out better. Okay, next we got a 1 column, right? And then all of a sudden we're into 2 columns. So I would do this still in sections. Would I? No, we're not gonna, just for the shits and giggles on this one so I can show it to you, because this actually is a whole section, isn't it? This is a whole section. So let's leave it as a section and let's build her out. So we're gonna go with a section with a 1 column row to start. Let's do that. So we're gonna add in a section. We're gonna go full width, scroll up, add a row, 1 column. And then what I'm gonna do here immediately is I'm gonna add a row, and this time I'm gonna add a 2 column row. So I've got a 1 column and a 2. See how that's starting to come together? Because we had a 1 column row with 1, 2, 3. You need to have 3 pieces here because of the font size difference. In one element, it's more challenging. You could do it. I recommend you just make it 3 different pieces / text elements. So I'm just gonna go 1. I'm gonna change this. You gotta highlight it to get this to come up here. I'm gonna put her at an H4. I don't know, like the system's gonna notice the H1 as the headline at where your call to action is, and then your subheadline could be the H2. Or you could have your sections at H2, 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 right? Features and benefits, core features, etc. And then H3 would be next. So this could be an H2. Actually, it probably is going to be an H2. And then this one will be an H2. And then the next one I add is going to be the H3. Does that make sense? Now there's no spacing or anything on here, but there's my H3. You can see the hierarchy of it. Actually, do you notice? No. This is an H3, this is an H2, this is an H2. 3, pardon me. Do you see what's happening here? Comparison, headline. All right, let's reverse it. H3, H2, and this one I'll just duplicate it and pop it down. Now, normally what I would do is size it and color it, but I know we've got our font color in already, so we're good with our font color, right? So hopefully, no, it actually isn't. See, it isn't pulling in the font color like it's supposed to, but we'll get to that, right? And then you would be popping in your text here as you're going. Is this making sense? So what I would do with this one is I would make it quite a bit bigger, size-wise. I'll drag that up a bit so we can see it. It takes a minute when you drag it. It doesn't immediately note that it's changing color, or pardon me, changing size. So there we go. And then I know here I had 2 images again, right? 2 images, and then probably an H4, H3, H4 bullet. And I'm going to put 2 images that are landscape here. So if I go ahead and grab my little cursor again, oh, let me get rid of that one, and grab it again to make sure I got the crosshairs. I'm 1245 by 700. You see that? It said 1245 by 706 or something like that, but I'd probably go 1250 by 700. Yeah, 1250 by 700. Okay, so then I need 2 images here. So I'm going to add an element. I'm going to add in my image. And I would probably fix this up the way I wanted it to, maybe not, and then duplicate it over. So let me just duplicate that and drag one over. And I know that I wanted, what did I say? This is really powerful to remember, Pamela. 1250 by 700. So I want 1250 by 700. I'm going to come back to Photopea. I'm going to grab the image I want. So I'm just going to X out of that, open from my computer. And I've got a couple here that are, okay, I've only got one that's this way, landscape, but we're going to change a couple of these and turn them landscape. I don't even know what the images are. I tried to pick something that was similar in color, and I know that I want to go 1250 by 700. So I'm going to crop it, and I'm going to go, let me show you what happens when I do 1250. by 700. It's not bad. This image is quite big probably, right? I didn't check it. 3841 by 5760. So it's kind of doing its own thing, knowing that that's as wide as she goes, right? So then I would probably just, again, we're going to have a really bad images. And we'll just do that. That's our first one. And we're going to go File, and we're going to export this as well as a WebP. I'm going to just, for naming's sake, it's going to be image 2. And I can change my width right here. I want 1250 by 700. It did it itself because it was linked, and that's how I set it out. So save. That's the first one. And then I'm going to open a new one. And let's do this one. I don't even remember what I, oh no, that one won't work as well. We'll save that one though, because that's an image of a person. Looks like I got her twice. And then this one, fixed ratio, 1250 by 700. My settings have stayed in up here at the top. And I just need to click. This is a free one, so of course it's weird. Let's just do that for now. Free, and then let's come back to fixed. There it went. Okay, did its thing better there that time. That's awesome. And then I get to choose again where I want that to be, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to go File. I'm going to export this as another WebP. And this is going to be a image 3, and I want 1250 by 700. I just tab a lot of times in case you're watching what I'm doing. I kind of come old school from the keyboard days, so I find it faster. So I tab a lot to move things over. And I'm going to save this one as well. So you can see I've got a web image 2 and 3. So we're going to come back in here, and it doesn't really matter which one's highlighted. We just want to make sure, because those would be the settings that are opening here, right? And we're going to come into business website, make sure I'm in the right folder. I'm going to upload the new images, and you can upload more than one at a time by clicking Command or Control. It will grab them both. Now, if I can't remember what number, which one is which, if I scroll over, I can see the numbering. So I'm going to choose this one as the first one. I'll click over here, do the same thing, come in my folder, click on this one, looking pretty good, save. Now you'll notice on this one, there's a border, yes? So the border on this is in the columns, not the row, because it's a 2-column row, and it's not in the section, right? So I didn't put the border on the bottom of that one either. This has got a border. So let's jump back to borders quickly. Let's go to this section here, and borders are under advanced, and we have to choose bottom border, and it's probably going to be a 1-pixel border, and she's a solid border. Now you can't really see it because that section is highlighted, right? So what I would do is save it first if I kind of think I like it, then I'm going to click on the section above so that I can then see my border. Does that make sense? It might be 1.5 pixels. Like, do you see where I'm going with that? Like, it looks like it could be just a little bit thicker. Hard to say. Gonna need code to do that, but we got the basics in, right? We got the basics in. Okay, so then we're gonna do the same thing on our columns. So I need to be sure that I've highlighted my column. So that's the purple. If I click on column, it's gonna say first column. I'm gonna come advanced. I'm gonna go border. Full border. I'm going to go 1 pixel. And if I wanted a border radius or radius edge, which means the curve, but this site is very square, 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 like sharp corners, so we don't need that. That looks good. See how it's over there? You can kind of see it. If I pull over and come over here, you can see that's there. And as I keep adding in more elements, that border will go down, down, down. And then we'll worry about the padding and the margin later, but we'll get a border on it. And then we'll click on this one, and advanced borders are 90% of the time on the Advanced tab. And we like our dark color. Let's make sure we've got the right color. And the same on this one. Once we have the brand kit in, this won't happen. And I'll be able to choose that and save. That's probably the number one mistake I make, and I've seen other people make, is that colors are so similar, right? The black or some of the colors that Go High Level pulls in are very similar. So it's important. I can see that on sites, and I couldn't when I started. Let's be clear. I couldn't. I didn't understand any of this. None of it. I'd never done anything like this before in my life. I'm not artistic. I don't see color. But I guess I had a bit of a talent for it, or an eye. It's probably the eye to see when things aren't right? And I can spot a shade off. Oh, it's weird. Stuff like this is, I'm not the norm probably, right? My husband doesn't see the colors. But here's where it does matter. Your brain sees it. Subconsciously, your brain sees everything, but it doesn't register it for you. And what's important around that is that when someone comes to your site, it needs to look like it is in perfect condition, because your brain is evaluating, is this safe, right? Is this a good place for us to be? And immediately something can shake them off and they don't even know what it is. So these little tiny pieces are going to really matter. And that's why spacing matters. All of that matters. So we're going to clean all of this up as we go. But something to really pay attention to are those things. You could do it later. This is up to you how you funnel build. You'll notice I didn't change the font colors. And that's because I'm not sure yet, is my heading and subheadline and body color all going to be the same color, right? I'm building this and everything on this example is one color. I don't want to be that boring, but that's where we go. You'll maybe know what yours are. If you're just doing a full transfer, go for it. Just get that color in the copy and do all of that right out of the gate. But this is really breaking this down for you, I think, enough that you can pull over what it is you're needing. So then, as I mentioned, this is probably our H2 here. So then I'm going to go H4 and I'm going to go H3 here. Okay, so let's go add another element. We're going to scroll up and hit this one, subheadline for now, and then we're going to change this. What did I say I wanted to change it to? H4. And then we're going to add in another one, and we're going to leave this one at an H3. Is that what I said? Yes. And then it was another one, probably H4 might work. And then, remind me about the paragraph too. And then we've got a bullet feature here. Now it's really compact. It's really no spacing on it, etc. So it looks terrible. We might left align everything because that's what we wanted to do. And you'll notice the left aligned goes right to the edge, but on here, she's in a little bit. We'll want to determine how many pixels that is, right? It looks like she's about, 80 pixels in? We'll have to see if it all comes together. And we might not want this spacing in here as well, but we'll take her one at a time. And then what you can do, which is probably what I would do, since they're the same, is I would build this and get this at, I think 80 pixels will be too much for padding. Oh, maybe not. And probably get this done first. And then what I would do is duplicate it and put it over on the right-hand side, so I don't have to do this again. But I might be ending up doing it again anyway because I might change my mind. So that's the other thing you want to really pay attention to. And then, of course, the bullets are going to come in a little bit different. I'm going to put that at 40. Just one of those fussy things with regards to high level. Now, instead of even just doing this image, I could duplicate this whole column, right? So let me save that. Let me get rid of this for now. And let me duplicate this column and let me show you what happens. If I duplicate this column, I'm going to highlight the purple and click on the little copy. now it's giving me a 3-column row because I said I wanted 2 and I just added another one, right? But what I can do is delete this one and I come right back to 2-column row. Looking good. So my column now, just to show you, I can do my spacing. I want margin because I want it outside, right? But maybe I want 20 and 20. So there's something to think through, like how do you, I clicked on this one, so I want the left hand, and then when I click on this one, I'll want the right hand, right? So I want the margin to be at a 20. And that might give me that gap that I'm looking for. You see where I'm going with that? And this looks like it's quite a bit bigger. It looks like it's out a little bit further. So again, I'm on a really big screen. Let's put it all together and see what's happening. So let's preview this and let's see what we got so far. Whoa, looks horrendous. Well, let's give ourselves a break. It's not bad. It's not bad. And then what we've got, if we take another look at it, I'm going to leave that one. This here is a section, right? Up to here. I'm going to break it here. And then I'm going to see that I've got a 1-column row and everything's on the left. And then I've got a 3-column row and I've got a 2-column row. Do you see that? What I'm wanting you to do is kind of start to see in columns and rows. That's a 3, that's a 2, this could be a 1 again, depending on probably a 1, because this is kind of a button, yeah? But it doesn't have a border around it, but it all features, it's a button. Like, just so you know, she's a button. You're gonna need it to be a button so that when somebody clicks on it, it does take them where they need to go, but it doesn't look like a button because it's taken the border off of it. Does that make sense? You can make a lot of things look like a lot of things in here. So let's build this out. So we want 1, 2, 3, H, and I'm guessing on this, right? And I might change my mind because I didn't practice this like ahead of time. So I'm gonna go H3, H2, H3, okay? Scroll down, give me, I'm on the preview, that I do that a lot. And then let's go with plus and full width and scroll up a little bit. And she's a 1-column row. And she has a couple of these. H3, I'm gonna left align it. I'm gonna add another one. Nope, that didn't actually come in. Do you see that? That's perfect. And then we're going to H2 that one again because that's really cool. And we're going to H3 this one, and we're going to left align that one as well. So it's really tight. I'm going to put my famous 60 pixels. I've made sure I've got the section. I'm going to put my margin of 60, and I'm going to put my margin of 60 at the bottom as well. I just like it. I don't know, that's my number. But you will find that you might need more margin and padding on a bottom than on a top. So sometimes that happens as well. All right, what else do we have? 1, 2, 3, and now we got a 3-column row and a 2-column row. Let's pop it in. So same section, 3-column. And I would probably get one of these ready and then duplicate, 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 duplicate. Let's do that. So then I've got an image, a headline, subheadline, and a button kind of idea. Yeah, so I've got 4 pieces in each one of these. So let's do that. So let's add in an image. Let's add, I'm clicking on the subheadline all the time. It's an 8, was it 8? Yeah, it's gotta be an H3. They're all H3s. And then an H4 probably. And these don't need to be all headings. This is my really bad habit, right? So let's, you're probably, my cursor goes flying and then I lose my screen. Sorry about that. So what I am going to do now is I'm going to click here and I'm going to add the paragraph element. See what happens when you add the paragraph element? It just gives me the paragraph. So this could be a really great option for some of this text because it doesn't have an H in it at all, right? So this here might work really well for this text. This is a call that you get to make. A lot of heading tags are challenging for SEO. And of course, we always want to build as much for SEO as possible. So I might have changed some of these little pieces to more of the paragraph style. And it pulled in my font. Remember, under the typography, I had the headline font as Red Hat Display, and I had my content font at Pontano Sans. So all of these fonts as well are all coming in as headline font. That's the other thing I forgot to mention. It's funny. You ever have that zone of genius that they talk to you about, right? That you're just like, you forget that you know that you and didn't communicate something to someone because you don't even know you know it. I've forgotten about this piece as well. So that's the other reason you might bring in a paragraph, is so that it brings in your content font. Every time I pulled in a headline or subheadline, it's given me headline font. Now I can change this to my content font if I want. And I may very well do that now that I'm back doing this, right? So thank God you're learning along with me, but that's how that works, right? And then that was a button. So then I'm going to pull in an element of button, and I'm going to show you how to do this. So this is left aligned, right? So I'm going to go left aligned. My background color, I'm going to make it white. I'm going to change my font color here to my brown. So it looks like a button, right? But I get to add in the icon. There's an icon picker, and there's an icon picker for after, meaning after the words. And I'm going to type in arrow, and I'm going to be able to see one of these, just like that. Do you see how that started happening? Now what I can do is I can also change, oh, maybe I can't change the icon color on a button, but I can normally change it. So it starts to look similar. Is it this exact same? No, it's not. You see the weight of that arrow is different. So you may want to change the weight of your font and make it a little bit bolder. And in my experience, there she goes. That looks similar, right? So you can see that that now is a button. I'm going to click on this. I'm going to make it a full width button. It's fluid, meaning I'm going to make it full width. And she changed to center, even though I've got her left aligned. So I'm going to leave her fluid, meaning that it will only become as big as the copy that I put there. Right, it'll keep spreading out for copy. You can't really see that it's a button, but we want to give it as much space as possible. And then the wording on this was learn more. So I'm going to come back to my general tab. I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom, and I'm going to go learn more. Does that make sense? So now I'm going to save, and then I could duplicate this out for 2 and 3. But first, let me show you something. What if these icons are inside of the builder? Where do you get icons from, right? Maybe they were in, and I think they're in Webflowy, but I'm not 100% sure. Webflow or whatever it is I'm copying, right? And I'm like, where do I get these from? Back in the day, I'll tell you this, don't tell anyone. I used to use sites like Noun Project or some of the flat icons, etc., but they wanted you to cite where you got the icon from. I never did it. I just didn't do it. Okay. Now that I confessed, I don't do it anymore because there's a risk level to your business every time you make a decision, right? And that decision is just so silly to risk a legal action because I did something like that and didn't cite, which is what was required when I downloaded them for free. If I purchased it, it was different, but I just download them for free and I would manipulate them inside of Photopea or Photoshop. I knew how to recolor it, change it, transparent background, like I was like a hacker, right? So I was like, okay, well now what do I do? Well, I decided, let me see if I can find them in Canva. So let me share my other screen. Let's jump over here and let's go to Canva. Let me pull my mic and my keyboard back over. Inside of Canva, I found those 5 icons. What I try to do is find the same weight, meaning this line here on the black, right, is about the same thickness. Now it's not perfect because they will look weird when they're different weights. Some of them are very thin, some of them are very thick, etc. So it might take you some time to have to redo these. And if you need to buy Noun Project at $2 a month or something like that to get them, it may very well be worth it for you, and you may use more and more and more and more of them, right? So then, okay, what do I do, Pamela? Well, here's what we do. We're going to click on this, and I made these square, and I believe the size was 500 by 500. Well, there's no way in hell we need a 500 by 500 icon, but I made them this big to get the design, like to get them designed, to get them made, and then I'm going to resize them, okay? So I'm going to pull these right to the edge, and I will recolor these inside of here as well, right? I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to add in my color. So document colors, we're going to add a new one, and I know it was 27 for my brown, right? Again, I tabbed over so I can see that that color has changed. I'm going to do the same for all of these. I'm going to get them in as much as I can. Now, this is going to be interesting for a number of reasons, and I'm going to tell you why in a second. Did that go all the way to the edge? It did. I might not want to do that. I feel like it might have cut it off, but it might not have. And this is where the sizing is going to drive you and me bonkers if you're like me. And make that the 2.7, same thing. And this might be fun to watch. This might not be fun to watch, but there's a method to my madness here. These need to be the exact same size, because what's going to happen is it's going to pull them in. I'm going to show you what's going to happen. You're going to have to play with the pixels and the padding on these. And one more, and one more. So it'd be great if they were all square. They just never bloody are. They never are, so I do my best to get them all. Oh, I picked the wrong fill color. What happened there? It filled it in. Command Z or Control Z gives me the back. I get to back out. Maybe it's, no, it's not. Okay, I might need to change my, it's filling it in. I wanted the black to be different. We'll pretend. Okay, so I just grabbed an arrow here that kind of worked, and trying to get another one. We'll use it for now, just for illustration's sake. This might take a little bit of piddling around. So what you're going to do is you can resize them here, or you can go to Photopea and resize them. I recommend, let me show you. I'll just do it. I'm going to resize these. First of all, I'm going to guess. Well, I'm not going to guess because you won't be able to guess as easily as I would have. I'm going to grab my little thing again. I'm going to try over on the other screen. I'm just grabbing they're about 100 pixels. They're about 100 pixels. So I'm going to change this to 100 pixels. And again, these aren't going to be perfect. Did I hit resize? Resize. Resize options. No. Translate. Custom. Here we go. I go 100. Where do I get the option to add in my own numbers? Isn't that terrible? Custom size. 100 by 100. There it is. That one. Pixels 100, and we're going to continue. Copy and resize. I'm going to open them up. And they are on a white background. We may or may not want them on a white background, right? So I'm going to show you download, and I'm going to download these with a transparent background. And I'm going to download. Now, you saw that some of them weren't exactly 100 by 100 because they're bloody not square. That's so true. They're bloody not square, and it's going to drive you to drink. The biggest thing that we want for these, knowing that they're left-hand aligned, you'll notice that this is where the padding and the margins are going to come in when you add in images that are different sizes, or even transparent pixels above and below an image. When you add them in an image inside of high level, it counts those transparent pixels as part of the image. So you're going to need to trim them, or you're going to need to be sure that they're all 100 by 100 and make sure that the icon itself is at the top, and it's gonna drive you crazy. So we're gonna play with this as much as possible and see if we can get it. So I'm gonna open up my download folder, because that's going to come in as a zip file. So I'm gonna wanna open that up so that I can see them. And then we're going to come over here. Let me share my other screen. And let's come back over here, and let's bring these icons in. So we know that that's the first one here. So we're going to bring this one in. We'll upload them all at the same time. So we want all 5 of them. And I'm just going to go Command Control A. A means all. It's just going to grab everything that's in that little folder there. And I'm going to open that up, in case you're wondering how that happened so fast. And the first one was our little rocket. I'm going to double click on that, and there's our rocket. Okay, so we came in at 100 pixels, because that's what we told it, we think. But we're going to 100 pixel it. Yes, it's approximately 100 pixels. Now, to me, that feels really big, so I'm going to go 50. That feels better, and I'm going to left align that baby. Is that where that one was? Yes, it was. And then these just weren't left aligned. And left align. Whoops, pardon me. And we'll left align it. Oh, Pamela, that's just happening. And then this is left aligned, and our button is left aligned. Now, it doesn't look like it's left aligned because there is probably some padding. So I'm going to zero out that padding and see how it took that right to the left edge. See how delicious that is? It's not bad. But if I click on this, do you see it's not quite there? It's not quite over. That could become an issue. So what's happening is padding. We're going to go to 0. Make sense? I did all of that so that I could get these columns duplicate, duplicate, duplicate. And then I'm going to add in a 2-column row now, full width. Scroll up, add a row, 2-column row, and I'll go boom, boom. But what happens when I go from a 3-column row to a 2-column row? It gives me 3 across, looks good like this, but the 2 it's going to put them in the middle. How do I get them over on the left? Do you know what you do? Just add in another 3-column row. Trick the system. So what we're going to do is we will just delete this. How did that end up in its own section? Did I do that? I'm not paying attention. I want to just simply duplicate this out. Once I get these all done, and I'll just leave this one blank. It's a trick. It's a trick, folks. That's how you're going to make it so even and keep it even. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this out just for the sake of time, and then one more time, and then of course I'll delete. And I'll delete. It's looking good, yeah? And then same thing here. Delete. Or pardon me, clone. And this is why you don't want to muck with the padding, etc. Oh, I only needed 2 of them. Oh, no problem, Pamela. Let's just delete. Nobody got hurt. Right? And we're going to leave that column blank, because the system, aka high level, will know to leave that. It's there. It's like space saved for the interwebs. But that doesn't look horrendous, does it? Like, we've got a really good shot at this. That's our next section, and then we've got 2 buttons side by side here. So let's go ahead and let's add in what's the best way to do this? I don't always know the best way to do this, right? Because if I click on this and I add in a button here, one of them is colored, or border, and one is not. One is very similar to this one, right? So what I'm going to do is I'll just duplicate that out, and let me just drag that baby in here. And then on my row, I can actually change the width. I can make this maybe go to 45, right? And I think I can left align that sucker. I haven't built in a long time. No, I can't. Can't left align here either. Okay, that's a thinker, but I'm going to leave it for now and come back to it. That's absolutely okay as well. Sometimes when I'm building, I'll just all of a sudden, you know what it's like, right? Go for a walk or I'm in the shower or whatever, and I'm like, holy shit, that's how that, oh, now I remember how to do that. Or maybe this is so new you don't know. There's no harm, no foul to save, walk away, save, duplicate this out and play with it and play with it and play with it, and then just back out and don't save it. This is what we used to have to do because there was no undo button, but there is a magic undo button. So it's over here on the right-hand side. There is a undo and there's a redo. What? And there's also versions. If I click on here, I get to see all of the different versions of this that I made. So I could go back to my original one if I wanted to. I just have to remember the time. So if you're building like madness like we are here, that is a little bit different, right? So I'm just going to click out. I think I have to go back. Yeah, go back. And there's my page again. So she looks pretty good. She's not horrendous, right? And then maybe with code we move this one to the left if we really want to, and I'll show you how to CSS some things, and maybe we don't, and maybe we just want to run columns like we've done here to keep that space on the right. There's a lot of different ways to do this, right? Okay, I'm gonna leave that. Am I gonna leave that? No, I'm not gonna leave that because I don't like it. We're gonna go full width and we're gonna move our columns over. And then this button, I don't want any, I wanna left align it. This one I want to left aligned. Yep, looks good. I just want to bring those in. See how I can bring it in? Now that's not horrendous. Do you see? I don't know what I'm doing. You don't need to know what you're doing. So I'm going to preview this one. That button color, I would want to have changed it to brown. That doesn't look horrible. Like it's really, it's not bad. So this button, let's give it the outline. So we'll flip it to white or our button color, right? If we want, let's flip it to white background because we've got a white background. And then let's change our font color to our brown. And then we're gonna go to a border. And we're gonna go border, full border. And it always pulls this awful green. And we're gonna pull our border. And we have to click off it to see it. Now we might wanna change the weight, again, to match our other buttons, but we're not going to ever get it perfect, but you can see this is quite a bit lighter. Now that arrow, for whatever reason, it's not lined up perfectly and it's that heavier weight, but for now we'll let her ride. And I'll save that again. All right, what time have we got? I don't even know what time it is. Okay, we've been at this about an hour and 45 minutes. So if we take a look at the next pieces, you start to see what's happening. One column row, maybe a 2 column for this again, and I would probably just duplicate this one out. This one here, once I've got these built up here, looks very similar, yes? I could then just copy that out as well. Then I've got a big image here, right? She's going almost full width. And then a 3 column, you start to see what's happening. And then this one is the border around the row. So we've got a border around the row. So this is really powerful, not the columns. And then, yeah, we'll continue on. You've probably got a pretty good idea how to do all of these now. Maybe what I'll do to finish this up is why don't we build this baby out? Let's have a look, because these are all gonna need to be buttons or hyperlinked. Buttons can be tricky when they're really close together like this, because it's like if you got fat fingers or whatever, right, you're on your mobile, these might not click well in that sense, right? So you could use a button and make it white background so it doesn't look like a button, but they will touch each other, right? Unless we put some spacing in, but they're pretty tight, so we may not want to. We may just click hyperlink the text. So Let's take a look at this. We have got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 column row. Let's do it. So we're going to jump right down to the footer here. We're going to add a 5 column row. We're going to allow this one to go full width, right? Because we're going to need that. When you think about it, she's going out further than the rows allowed us to, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to have to eyeball the width. This kind of drives me crazy with high level, that I cannot pick a column and go, I need this one 200, this one 200, this one 200, and this one 100, right? I can't do that. So we'll use our ruler to try to get them as even as possible, but we'll eyeball it at first. So I've got a 5 column row. I know this one, I need an image. I need my little icon. So I'm going to grab my image, and I'm going to grab an icon. Oh, I duplicate that out. I did. See? No problem. I'm just going to grab this icon for now. And if you take a look at it, she's about that size, is it? With 75. You see where I'm going over here on the right-hand side? I'm just going into the width. I do not ever adjust the width and the height at the same time. So I don't go 75, 75, even though I know that this is a square item. That would work. What happens is if I shrink the site up, it's no longer the same size, and it's still going to try to stretch that image out to be square. It's going to look weird. So I never, ever, ever adjust the height. I always just adjust the width. You'll notice that about me. And then our element here is going to be, I'm going to put these as 1, 2, 3. Let's put them as subheadlines. And I would probably do this to start with. And I don't know what font size that is, but there is another, oh, I forgot about this. There's another Google Chrome extension that measures the font size. I will get that for you instead of you watching me Google something, which will be really fun to watch, right? I forgot about that one. We'll actually tell you the exact font size of something. Oh, that's right. It's so delicious. Okay, so we know that this is, what's it called? Let's say site pages. So if we just use that wording as well, we'll be able to see our font size better. 24, what is she, 12? No, 16. Let's go with 16. And we want to make sure that we've got our color. And if it's in bold, we want to make sure it's our color. So what I do is I highlight it, and Command or Control A gives me all, right? And then Command or Control B gives me bold or not bold. Can you see it bolding down there? It's hard to see, but it looks like she's bolded, but she's the same font weight. And that's because I've changed the font weight. So it's not bolded, but the font weight is bolded, but this is going to still pull this color. So if I wanted my bold text color to be a different color, meaning I bold this one, can you see how it changed color? So they're both bold in the sense that the font weight is there, but I bolded this one so I could change the color. I can do the same for my italics. I could make that pink just for fun, just to show you. And if I double click on this and go Command or Control I, it gives me the italics, and that changes it to a pink. So that's how you change the color inside of one font element. Size, I can't change it. So that's why in these ones here, I made them all separate elements so that I could change the size. I could bold them and change the color as well, but I want to change the size. So that's why that's there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to unitalicize this one, and I'm going to unbold this one just to keep it the same. So then I know that that's pretty close. And then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I will probably duplicate this over. And if you're not patient, like me, what's going to happen is you're going to redo things more often. So it's probably best that I would have done the column as well with the little paragraph. I'm going to add the paragraph piece in here now. So let's go ahead with paragraph. I'm going to left align that. I would change the color and I would change the font weight, etc. Right? Oops, oops, oops. Sometimes clicking out. I call it clicking out. You've got to click off sometimes to get things to work. And then what was our wording here? Just so we can see features. So I'm going to go features. I won't capitalize that, of course. We're going to give that a bit of spacing at the top. So I'm going to go with padding. No, I'm going to go with margin. And I'm going to start with 10. And then I'm going to duplicate this. And then I get to see, if I click up here, I get to see the spacing on that. I've got 10 at the top for each one, right? So that's going to keep it even, right? That's going to be really, really important. If you remember that. Now, it looks like there's more than that though, doesn't there? So what I would probably do is I've got 10 at the top. I'm going to put 10 at the bottom. And then this one as well, I'm going to put 10 and 10. And I'll just step back and see if it looks right. It might even be a 15. See, it's almost a 15. It's hard to say, but that's how we'll do that. And then what we would do is we would highlight this. It's a little finicky. And there, where is, maybe I have to double click on it. Yeah. I need this bar to come up because here's my link here. So here's where I get to choose what the https://features.com, right? Or whatever. It's, okay, we'll pretend I can spell, but it actually would have been the PamelaDale.com/features, right? Not for a page like that. That's probably what it would be. So that's how you would do that. I'm going to just save that. It changed the color. Right? Remember, in our typography, we changed the color of all links to the gold. We want to change it. We can keep them separate. We can still have links overall turning to gold, or we can change it to the color that we want. But usually a footer is darker colored. This one is not, but it usually is. So some links need to be light and some needs to be dark. So over on the paragraph element, if I scroll, my link color is the gold. I'm going to change it to the brown. Still keeps this fine, but it changes it for this one single element. Make sense? So then I would probably duplicate this one out. Remember what I said about patience? Be patient, Pamela. Not my best feature, not my best quality. So I would have probably done that first and then look at all of the ones that we need to do. Same with the blog posts. And then this here, very different, isn't it? We're going to have this email and subscribe. So what is this? You might be able to guess the rest of these, right? But what is this? This is an inline form. We're going to drop a form in here, but we have to create the form first, right? So let's do that. Let's save this. And we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What was our title over here? Subscribe. Let's just change this to subscribe. Subscribe, Pamela. And let's go build a form. I'm going to take a sip of water. Oh, I'm moving too quick. Save. Forms. Form builder. And we're going to add a form. And then we'll stop after this. Now, we want to name this exactly the same. Please, for the love of Jesus, don't put form 1. Put business name. Website. Footer, form, number 1, because you might get number 2, or this might be the home page footer. probably always going to keep your footer the same all the way across and turn it into a global section, right? But for now, that's what we're going to do. And we're going to hit save. Next, what I do is I come in and I'm going to do my styling. So I want a single line form, right? I want to turn it into a single line. And then my first thought is, calm down, Pamela, you don't need to worry about that at the moment, but this is my patient thing that's doesn't do well. So let's just stay with it. Background is going to be white because it needs to be white. We've got a border. This had a border, right? And then it has corner radius of 3. No, it's got a 0 corner radius. We don't want that. Solid. How wide do we want the form? Great question, right? How wide is this form? It's approximately 857, but I don't think so. I think we're going to stay with our 650. We get to play with this, no problem. We don't want to worry about the padding at the top and the bottom at the, well, actually we do want 0. Yeah. Shadow color, we're not putting any shadow on, but we might want to just turn that to white. 6Fs is white. And you've got to keep the hashtag on there, Pamela. That's just going to turn it to white and get rid of that shadow for now. Background font color, we want our font color. We know it's a 2.7. And again, I always hit tab. Our border, we want our border color to be the same color, right? Tab over, border 1 pixel, I like it. Corner radius 0. That got rid of that. That looks good. Again, we've got our padding, but we'll watch it and see what it looks like. Pardon me. And then we're just going to do our, and I'll probably just copy this because we'll need it a little bit. And then our font family, we have Red Hat Display, right? I'm going to choose Red Hat. You can see it's starting to change. That's lovely. Font size, font weight. We can adjust that maybe later. Our placeholders, who knows, right? I tend to, remember I showed you on my colors how I had lighter field colors and things like that. This is why. But if you want a quick way to do it, what I do is I notice this little thing right here, and I'll just drag her up a bit. Gives me a little bit lighter color, but she's staying in the same shades. Does that make sense? And then I might copy that and go, all of my placeholder text is going to be in that same color. Okay, that's kind of a trick. That's how I do it. And then here we're going to do Red Hat Display. Just start typing it in. It'll come up. Your font color, font size, etc. We'll come back to that. We don't have any of this other stuff at the moment. It's fine. Don't choose any of the themes, and then we'll just come over here to options. Again, my font color. And I'm going to go with my Red Hat Display. I'm going to turn on sticky contact. That's looking good. I don't usually do a submit message. We might create a thank you page for that. And then on this example, we're not using this, although that would be probably a good idea. And it wasn't asking for phone number, and it wasn't asking for last name. And it didn't have these pieces. And field width is 20% here. Let's see what happens if I hit 100. First name field came at that. Now we've got 3 pieces, right? So, or did they just ask for email? I have a feeling they just asked for email. Is anybody yelling at me? I would love it if you would. That's so funny. So now what we can do is it's 20%. Let's put this at, what is it, 75%? And the button was at the 25, but it's acting weird. So I don't know why it's acting weird. Let's go and click on button and have a look. So we want the background color to be white and or transparent, depending on how this, but we'll go with white for now. Border, we wanted a 1 pixel border. Border type, solid. 0 radius. Field, shadow. Here's our text color. We're going to change that to the 2.7. we're going to change it to Red Hat Display. This is where we might need to finagle a little bit. Font weight on that one is 15, so we'll have to wait and see how it all works. Subtext, we're not actually doing anything with that at the moment, but while I'm in here, I will just do it, because that's how I roll. Now, where's my border on my button? Border color, that's why. Now, I don't know why. We're going to preview it and just see if it's just being fussy in preview mode. Does that make sense? Oh, that's why. So what have I done? It's, I don't know what I've done. This will take a minute. Where's the 20%? 40 and 60. 75, 25. That's what I was doing wrong. 75 and 25. That's better, but it's still, the text isn't lining up right for me. Is it? Okay, let's save it. Let's preview it again. It's getting closer. So instead of this, what did it say? It said, let's play with the right text. We want subscribe. And it is putting it in the middle. So sometimes, high level, you just got to let it think about itself for just a minute. You know what I'm saying? We're just going to leave it. So what I'm going to do is go back to our website, and we'll come back and play with this a little bit. But we'll jump to our website. Oh. What happened there? You have unsaved work. Did you see what I did? Okay, we might have unsaved work. I swear I saved it, but it went back. Why did it go back? Oh, what did I do? I don't know what I did, folks. See, this is why saving is just so powerful. Oh, I figured it made an extra form for me. But I looked down for like 3 seconds and I don't know what I clicked on. So there you go. I'm going to delete this one. And we're going to go back to, we're under sites still. So what we'll do is come back to website. We'll come into our website and we will click on our homepage and edit. Stuff will make you sweat, this funnel building stuff, right? It's not for the weak, I always say. Scroll all the way down, and right here, we're going to add in a form. You don't have any forms. Okay, let's add this one. So, remember how I had said that subscribe looks terrible. But we've got to finagle with this stuff. Remember how they were very small? This one was a little bit bigger, right, than this one. And then for some reason this is still here, but that's okay. We're just going to play. These two look similar. There's some, and then you see the spacing in between. So it's going to take a little bit of a rulery kind of thing, and I wouldn't worry about it too much until we get to a place where this is not left aligned. So we might do some negative. So that's the other piece that I wasn't always clear on, was negative, let's go negative 50, tab over, and it gave me the margin. So I don't want that. I want the padding to be negative. So I'm going to go negative 50 here and tab. And it didn't. Sometimes it won't allow it because it just doesn't allow it. That's fine, no problem. I'm gonna X out of here. The other thing is that remember as well, things look different in the editor than they do in real life, and they are going to look different on every screen size than they will on the screen that you're building on. So when we get to, good Lord, and the subscribe, what the hell, way up there. Hey, and this one, why? Let's take a look. This will be our last piece for today. we're going to click on the columns and we're going to center this as left. Vertical left. This is going to be as well, the column, pardon me, vertical left. It's going to come all the way up to the top. I'll never forget the first time I figured this out. I thought Jesus was talking to me. It was so exciting. Same thing. And this one, I think it's going left because of the form. So now this is all even. And what I'm going to do in my section is I'm going to give it that margin as well that I love of 60. And I'm going to save one last preview and we're out for today. Go all the way down. It's not horrendous. So this could even be moved to the right a little bit so it's next to it, which is what I believe is happening. And then we might need to add a little bit of code, but we might be able to make this all happen. The forms are a little tricky inside of high level because they do a lot of extra padding. So we'll take a look at that. So let me come back over here. Wow, 2 hours and 5 minutes. Now, I put 2 hours aside for this because I was like, oh, maybe we'll just go for 2 hours and see what happens, right? And here we are, we're at 2 hours and somebody is watching. And I am so grateful for that because it's funny when you love what you do and then here you are. Thanks for watching. Questions, comments, concerns, wherever you're watching this, if you're watching it on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, etc., comment down below. I will follow up with you and we will continue next week with the cleanup. We'll maybe do another 2 hours and we'll see if we can make it look prettier. To get it to look like the example. It's just an example. Your example will be different. Or if you're doing this for a living and you are migrating people over, you want to do your own, or you got to rebuild a funnel for somebody, this is exactly how you do it. And get it all in, get it all laid out, and I'll complete that layout piece for you. And then next time, we will just start hammering away at it. 2 hours to get started. I put a little bit of effort in to grab a couple of logos and some images, right, which is what you would have. And then we're looking at another 2 hours to clean it up. Then we want to work on some of those integrations. We've got some buttons that are moving places. We've got a form. We're going to need an integration for the form. We're going to need a thank you page for the form, etc. So we'll keep going until you get tired of watching. My name is Pamela Dale, your GHL gal. See you soon.